Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a first impressions demo review on the L'Oreal Infallible Pro-Matte 24-Hour Foundation. I picked this up at the drugstore. I'm not sure how much it was. I want to say it was like $13.99. It's in this little like squeezy tube. There were a variety of colors. So it says it has, the finish is a demi matte. It's long wearing, up to 24 hours. The coverage is medium, and the texture is air light. So I like that it's going to be light. It gives you tips on the back for kind of like how to apply it professionally, and I'm wearing it in the color 104 Golden Beige. So to get two different perspectives for the foundation, I'm going to do one side of my face with a primer as a base and the other side no primer. This way you can see how it wears under both situations. So this is just the NYX Photo Perfect Photo Loving Primer. I also picked this up at the drugstore, so I'm just going to like dab it. I'm going to put it on the right side of my face. So now I'm just going to apply the foundation, and I'm going to use my Real Techniques buffing brush. It's a little dirty, but it's my favorite thing to apply foundation with right now. So I apply it like directly to the brush just because I don't want to dirty my hands. So I'm going to start off with a little bit, and I'm going to start off with the prime side. And I'm just going to, I like stipple it on, and then I buff. Okay, so as far as first impressions goes, I'm going to get out my mirror so I can kind of see a lot closer what the foundation's doing on my face. It's blending in really nicely without a lot of effort, I guess you could say. It's kind of just smoothing on, and I mean this is the side with the primer, so I'll see how it goes on when I do the other side, if it blends in as smooth, because having the primer on does help. So the coverage is medium. As you can see, I had, or is it, it's over here, I have an acne spot right here and one over here, and that's still kind of visible, but with a little concealer it won't be. So I would say overall that it is a medium coverage. It's weird because it's light, but you can still see kind of through your skin, but it does give you a pretty nice coverage. Like, it covers any redness or anything like that. I don't have tons of redness on my face, but this is the side that it's on. So now I'm going to go through and do this side, my left side, without the primer underneath. It is really light, which is nice because it doesn't really feel like I've put any product on my face. I'm liking the way the color is matching up to my skin. Because it's such a light foundation, I almost feel like it's a little bit more forgiving when you pick the wrong shade, as opposed to like when you're buying a really heavy, like thick matte full coverage foundation and you get the wrong shade. It's like totally obvious that you've just gotten the wrong shade. This, I think, might be, this I believe would be a little bit more forgiving. It is really airy. It kind of feels like, it feels like putting like a BB cream on, but not as moisturizing, just like that light kind of like feeling that you would get. It's not as moisturizing. I've put a moisturizer on first because I always do, but it doesn't feel drying. It's a matte foundation, but it doesn't feel drying. It doesn't really feel like I have anything on my face, to be honest with you. I actually really like this. So far, so good. I'm going to let you know about the 24-hour wearability of it. I guess I can't really let you know 24 hours because I won't be up. I'll let you know how it holds up to the end of the day. I'll wear it till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night to let you know. Okay, so even on the side without the primer, it has blended in seamlessly. I mean, it took a little bit more buffing than this side, but like I said, the primer smooths over your pores and everything and makes it so much easier. But yeah, so even like around my mouth and everything, around my mouth is where I tend to get the driest, that and like my nose. And I'm always worried that matte foundations in the winter are gonna like just make it look worse. And it hasn't. I'm just gonna kind of go off camera and finish my makeup as normal. As far as my face, I'm gonna put a little concealer like under my eyes and just in like my problem areas. You're kind of seeing the coverage now. You can see my spots a tiny bit, but actually not a lot. It's a pretty good medium coverage foundation. Like I find that I wouldn't even build it to the next level. I would just dab concealer on in a few places. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna set it lightly with a powder. I'll show you the powder I'm going to use. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte. I use like a very little bit of this on just like one of these guys and just kind of really quickly. Mostly just in my T-zone. And yeah, I'll put a little blush on and then I'm going to start heading out the door. Alright, so this is my finished face. Like I said, all I've done is dab some concealer under my eyes and around my mouth where my blemishes were. And did a quick setting powder in my T-zone and then like a kind of bright, like an illuminating powder, I guess, almost, minus shimmer under my eyes. And then I did chapstick, fill in my brows a tiny bit, and put on mascara, and I'm good to go. I'm actually nannying today, so I don't do a whole lot with my face. But if this makeup stays well, then it has stood the test of time because I touch my face, the baby touches my face. If I have makeup on at the end of the day, it's like a miracle from God. So we will check it out and I'll check back in with you. What time is it? It's 6:45 in the morning. I will check back in with you in the afternoon and let you know how it's holding up. Okay, so I'm checking back in with you. It is around 10:30 in the morning. I put my foundation on at around 6:30 this morning. So it's been about 4 hours and I just was checking it out in the mirror. I know I'm a little whitewashed here because there's a lot of light and like snow outside coming in from this window. I'm in the bathroom at my brother's house. Really noticed a difference in wear from my right side to my left side because on my right side, if you remember, I put primer and I did not on my left side. So the only thing different that I noticed between the two of those is that my pores are like less visible on the side with the primer. But as far as like the longevity of the foundation and the way it's is staying on, it's still staying on perfectly on the left side, which has no primer. So so far it seems like it could be okay without a primer. You don't have to worry about that extra step, but I will also let you know later how it's working out. So my left side T-zone and my right side T-zone pretty much feel the same as far as like oil or anything like that, but it is still early. But I tend to touch my face a lot and my foundation tends to rub and wear, and especially when I'm watching my nephew, he's always touching my face. Whenever I pick him up, he's like grabbing my face and stuff like that. So everything is still in place perfectly after 4 hours. So I will check back in with you in probably about another 4 or 5 hours and let you know how we're doing then. Now it's around 2:30 and I'm checking in again. And what I have noticed is that where I have like blemishes, like I have like 2 on my chin. I'm sorry, the banging, my nephew. On my chin where I have blemishes, it's kind of like rubbed off, or I don't know how to explain it, but the blemishes are a little bit more noticeable than the rest of my skin, but it doesn't look patchy or anything. Normally what foundations do, like around when I have breakouts, is like they get really patchy around that area and it looks really bad. This just is like, you can see the blemish when you look at it closely, but it's not red or anything. Like, you don't notice it really from a distance. I have to get close to the mirror to see it. But as far as everything else, the other places I usually get patchy besides like around like my mouth here is like my forehead, like kind of like T-zone area. But I haven't noticed any patching. I looked really closely. It didn't look like I needed to smooth anything out or anything like that. Once again, both the left side and the right side are wearing pretty much the same, even though I have, you know, primer on one side and none on the other. They're both wearing the same. So I'm actually really impressed at this point, but we still have a couple more hours to go. Well, more than a couple. We still have about 8 hours to go because I said I would probably update until around 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, so everything is still going really well. It is now 8 o'clock. My last check-in was around 2:30, so it's been about 5.5 hours since I've updated you, and I've been wearing the foundation for over 12 hours at this point because I put it on around 6:30 this morning. So it's been a long day. So after just examining my foundation in the mirror, I can tell you what's going on with myself. So this side is primed, this side is not, just to remind you. So my primed side is holding on to the foundation better on my cheek. I can even still see a little bit of my blush when I look in the mirror on this side, and this side, all of that has pretty much gone away. Also, I always have dark circles under my eyes. They're still, like, you can still see it starting to peek through the foundation at this point on my prime side, but on my non-prime side, it's fully, you could see it. Also, the acne kind of marks that I was talking about in my last update, where I said that I was starting to be able to see them, but they weren't super red and they weren't super noticeable. At this point, they are super noticeable. You can see it all right there on my chin, like around my mouth. Okay, so it is super noticeable at this point. It didn't wear well on my chin. That's my problem area with foundation, though. That's typically where it starts to wear on me first, around my chin and like my eye, like in between my eyebrows. That's pretty normal for me. But I do like that it's still covering my under eye circle on the prime side. I guess I would recommend wearing it with a primer underneath if you're planning on wearing it for a super long time. So what I will say is, although I don't think this is a 24-hour foundation by any means, I will say that I think it held up really well. Also, although it's started to fade and from my skin, it's not blotchy, which is a problem that I have with a lot of drugstore foundations, that after, you know, they're done with whatever it is that they're doing, they get really blotchy on your face, and you have to constantly check and finger blend and make sure that you don't look crazy. That happens to me a lot with my Revlon Color Stay. Although I do love it, it does get blotchy on me after a while. So this is starting to fade from my skin, but it's kind of like a clean fade. Like I don't have blotches anywhere on my face. It's just wearing. And I think that's pretty normal. I don't really believe any foundation to last 24 hours. I just don't. I would say that this isn't a bad foundation if you are planning on wearing it for a long time, because I would say it just needs a light touch up. I would just dab some concealer on the parts that are starting to show and freshen my powder and like my blush, and I would just hit the road. I wouldn't even apply all new foundation, because if you put a primer underneath, it did stay pretty good on that side, except for my problem areas, which is pretty much what I'm used to. So I don't even think I need to update you again at 10. I was going to do this until 10, but I don't think I need to, because I think I already proved the 24-hour myth thing. So I will say that it is not a 24-hour foundation. It's not. I would recommend wearing it with a primer underneath. I definitely recommend this foundation. I loved the way it felt when I put it on. I loved that it felt light. I loved the coverage. I love that it was like a light coverage, but I still felt like it didn't look too thick. It didn't look caked on. I could still see my skin, but it made my skin look prettier. It made my skin look like a better version of my skin. So if you have tried this, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions for me about it, you can also leave those below and I will get back to you. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!